My God, I hate drugs.
In other news, hundreds of families have fled their homes due to offensives against ISIS-inspired groups in Maguindanao. The ARMM response team says that more than 1,700 families from 5 barangays had to evacuate. 6th Infantry Division Commander Brigadier General Cirilito Sobejana says they conducted air and ground offensives against the Bangsamoro Islamic freedom fighters. As of yesterday, 15 are confirmed dead. 8 wounded and 2 were captured. They were able to destroy their explosives factory in southern Liguasan. The military says they will facilitate the immediate return of displaced families after clearing operations.
We agreed to convince all the IDPs or the internally displaced persons to immediately go back to the respective communities in close coordination with the concerned local government unit. We don't set deadlines, but we will do it in a sustained manner. We will not stop until these lawless elements are neutralized, prevent them once again of emplacing IEDs in the different parts of Mindanao.
It's a recurring complaint, Chinese Coast Guards harassing Filipino fishermen, even stealing their catch in the South China Sea. For the first time, the Foreign Affairs Department says China is acting on the matter, vowing to punish its personnel who violate Filipinos' rights. Our Rex Remitio tells us more.
As early as last year, Filipino fisherfolk confirmed to CNN Philippines, Chinese Coast Guards are habitually taking their prize catch. After long hours of arduous journey through the West Philippine Sea, they are going home empty-handed most of the time. They say they have also been harassed and collared every time they get near the islands, claimed by China as its territories. But for the first time, the Foreign Affairs Department claims China will impose harsh sanctions on its violating Coast Guards.
Inassure tayo ng Chinese ambassador that they will apply the law very harshly sa violators. No? May agreement na tayo sa kanila na ang fishermen ay dapat malaya.
Coast Guards of the two countries have also assured to discipline their respective ranks. Cayetano says they still have to investigate before filing a diplomatic protest. He says some Filipino fisherfolk have been voluntarily selling their catch to the Chinese.
You have to find out the facts kasi first, di ba? We're assuring you that we're taking all diplomatic action.
For now, he says they can fish at the traditional fishing grounds undisturbed, despite recent reports say otherwise. Cayetano also slams opposition lawmaker Gary Alejano for spreading what he calls fake news. He pertains to Alejano's claim that President Duterte orders the armed forces to stop patrolling in the West Philippine Sea and that the Philippines has already lost territories in the disputed waters like the Sandy Cay geological feature under Cayetano's watch.
Fake news to na lumalabas sa bibig ng kagalang-galang na congressman at hindi nakakatulong ito. Hindi totoo na we lost any territory, no? Panibasa, mahirap puntahan yung lugar kung ano-ano ang sinasabi ng ilang kritiko kasama si Congressman Alejano na hindi naman totoo.
Cayetano also says Alejano's claims have implications on the country's security because these are classified information. But in a text message to CNN Philippines, Alejano says Sandy Cay has been under China's control since last year, citing Chinese ships are permanently stationed near Sandy Cay. He even challenged Cayetano to go there with him and the media as witnesses. Alejano slams Cayetano for calling him a harbinger of fake news, saying the secretary is the one who has a history of lying before the public. Alejano also says he does not invent stories and that Cayetano should fix his script. Rex Remitio, CNN, Philippines.
Amid this lingering issue, a photo of a Chinese aircraft landing in Davao City creates a buzz online. The government confirmed the landing, but clarified it was just for refueling. The military transport plane is supposedly part of China's People's Liberation Army Air Force. Special Assistant to the President Bongo clarifies the request for landing was processed by the government, making sure they followed procedure. Meantime, Armed Forces spokesperson Edgar Arevalo also says it's legal to let foreign aircraft land in our airports in the same way that planes from the Philippines make technical stops in other countries. Presidential daughter and Davao City Mayor Inday Sara Duterte says she wants to join her father on his foreign trips to make sure the controversial kissing incident won't happen again. Last week, the president drew flack after he kissed a woman on the lips in front of an audience in South Korea. The kiss also sparked a word war between actress Chris Aquino and Communications Assistant Secretary Mocha Uson. Speaking at the groundbreaking of the Davao Occidental Provincial Capital Saturday, Mayor Sara says she will now tag along with her father even if she has to spend her own money.
Pagka dungog na ko nga ing ato na pud ang iyahang gibuhat sa Korea, nakahuna-huna na gyud ko nga magpadala og sulat dinha sa Office of the President sa Presidential Management Staff. Can you please lang send me an invitation every time nga naamoy ingana na mga events so as to make sure nga dili mag-away si Chris Aquino o si Mocha Uson tungod kay PRD. Sa sunod, mugaso na kong kaugalingon akong kwarta, aron lang mapanigurado na wa na po'y mahalukan din ha.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has arrived in Singapore ahead of a historic summit with U.S. President Donald Trump. President Trump flew in a few hours later. In a tweet from Air Force One, he said he has a feeling that, quote, this one-time opportunity will not be wasted. Before leaving Canada, Mr. Trump put the responsibility for success on the North Korean leader. CNN's Alexandra Field has this report from Singapore.
It all seemed so improbable only months ago. The North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un, a man who had lobbed angry rhetoric and threats of ruin at the United States, and the American president who had promised his ability to rain down fire and fury on North Korea. Improbable that these two men would come face to face, and yet we are just a little more than a day away from what will be the kind of meeting that the world has never seen before. Both men have arrived in Singapore. Kim Jong-un touching down first on an Air China flight, greeted by Singapore's foreign minister. His caravan was attended by heavy security as it made its way through the streets of Singapore. He went on to greet Singapore's prime minister, talking about the historic role that this city-state could have depending on how this summit goes. Hours later, just after dark, President Trump landed aboard Air Force One, also greeted by Singapore's foreign minister. On Monday, President Trump will meet with Singapore's prime minister. Tuesday morning, that's when the big meeting between Kim Jong-un and President Trump happens. It will be at the Capella Hotel on Sentosa Island, just miles away from the center of the city where I'm standing. That hotel chosen with security as the most important consideration in mind by delegations from both countries who spent some time in Singapore trying to determine the location of this summit. As for what exactly it could accomplish, that's an open-ended question. President Trump not willing to set direct objectives about what could be agreed to as soon as Tuesday. He has in recent days lowered expectations for the meeting, saying it could be a meet and greet plus. Just minutes before he boarded his plane bound for Singapore, he said he'd know within the first minute of meeting Kim Jong-un whether the two could work together. He has also opened the door for the summit going on to a second day, and he has certainly indicated that there will be diplomatic work, a lot of it, to follow this summit, that this is an initial conversation between the two leaders that will then have to be followed up by Secretary of State Pompeo and his counterpart, as well as other diplomats. But really, this is an opportunity for President Trump, as he puts it, to get in the room and see what's possible. In Singapore, Alexandra Field.
Anthony Bourdain used food as a passport to understanding other cultures. Following news of his passing, we look at how he's being celebrated, remembered, and mourned. In New York, fans turned the restaurant where he shot to fame as a chef into a memorial. They taped tributes on the door and walls of the shuttered Brasserie Leal. Bourdain was a chef there in the 90s. They placed printouts of his pictures outside with messages and the hotline for a suicide prevention network. Colleagues also paid tribute on Instagram. CNN anchor Anderson Cooper posted Bourdain's photo, which he says hangs directly outside their control room in New York. His caption reads, quote, "Today we have lost a friend, a travel companion who was always up for adventure and one of this country's greatest storytellers." CNN Chief International Correspondent Christiana Mampour says her heart breaks for Bourdain. She describes him as a huge personality, giant talent, unique voice, and someone who is deeply, deeply human. Bourdain was found dead Friday in his hotel room in France. He was filming an episode for his popular CNN series Parts Unknown when he took his own life. He was 61 years old.